Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation, and as you exhale, allow feelings of tension or stress to leave your body. That's right. On the next breath in, breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, and then on the out breath, that's it. Relax those eyelids and allow them to fully and tightly close. That's it. Enabling you to breathe in and breathe out. And with each breath, just get a sense that more of that feeling of resourcefulness, of empowerment is going into your body on that inward breath. And as you exhale, just get a sense that you're feeling deeper and deeper relaxed now. And the deeper relaxed you go, notice that you're able to breathe in slightly more and exhale for slightly longer. And in doing so, I want you to get a sense that you're releasing those things that you've been holding on to for a while. Use the power of your imagination to imagine a bright, vibrant color representing all those good, resourceful things going in through your nose. And then just imagine almost something like shadows or darkness leaving your body in your outward breath, representing all of those things that perhaps that you've been holding on to for a while that are no longer serving you. And I don't know if those dark, shadowy feelings that are leaving your body in your outward breath represent shame or guilt, overwhelm or frustration. Just get a sense that good things are coming in, and things that are just no longer useful are leaving your body. Tension is leaving your body. Stress and anxiety is leaving your body. And as it leaves your body, notice that void, that vacuum is being filled with this resourceful feeling. And resourceful is such a broad word that it can mean anything you want it to mean. Positivity is resourceful. Motivation is resourceful. Confidence and self-belief is resourceful. You know the resources that you need most. And sometimes the most powerful resource of all is gratitude. Being able to hold on to all those things that are genuinely good. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we can find someone in the world to compare ourselves to make us appreciate something that we have. If we can smell, there is someone in the world without a sense of smell. If we can walk, there is someone in the world that doesn't have legs. If we can breathe, there is someone in the world missing a lung. There are people in the world that are blind, and if you can see, then isn't that one thing to be grateful for? And as you hold on to that feeling of gratitude, I want you to get a sense that that's helping to release any of those things that you don't need anymore. Particularly guilt, shame, tension and stress. Just allow that to leave your body in your outward breath. That's it. Deeper and deeper. Relaxed. And as your body relaxes, I want your imagination to become what it loves to become, and that is to be playfully imaginative, to be able to create ideas and representations in your mind that may or may not have meaning, symbolisms, ways that you can create new ways of thinking, new beliefs and new ideas. Open up those neural networks, those neural pathways to create new evaluations. And I want you to imagine going back in time 26 years ago and to see someone that isn't you but that looks like you back then. It definitely isn't you, but it looks like you. And I want you to imagine that someone did something, perhaps. It was a pill, a liquid, something to make you completely unconscious. That version of you, or just someone that looked like you, imagine going back in time and you're seeing it from a different perspective, seeing it almost like a fly on the wall going back in time. And I want you to imagine that you're seeing someone do something like that so that you are deeply fast asleep. And I want you to imagine that while you're deeply fast asleep, they're deciding to eat from your kitchen. Imagine them opening your fridge without your permission. Imagine them making a meal or a sandwich. Imagine that they are messy with how they eat. They spill a liquid on the floor. They've gone into that home without permission, taken what didn't belong to them, for their own gratification, consumed that thing, and then they left a mess on the floor, a mess on the table, didn't clean their dishes and just left. And I want you to imagine that back then you, or that representation of someone that looked like you, had no idea who that person was. They just went into your home, took what they wanted, ate the food, made a mess. And then imagine seeing someone that looked like you 26 years ago. Perhaps the next day, in a dazed state, wake up and almost like Goldilocks and the three bears, the bears saw the mess that Goldilocks made. I want you to imagine waking up and seeing that someone has been in your fridge, someone has consumed your food, and someone has made a mess on your floor, on your table, messy dishes. And I want you to think that you don't want to live in a house with messy dishes. Even though you didn't create this problem, why should it be the case that for as long as you live in that house, in that apartment, that you continue to have that mess on the floor, the messy plates? It would be weird to just leave it there forever. And I want you to get a sense that back then, that version of you, or someone that looked like you, did the natural thing to do. They tidied up that mess, and see that version of you tidying up that mess, even though the mess was not of your choosing, of your creation, but just see that version of you tidying up the mess, maybe with a mop of a liquid on a floor, perhaps putting the plates in the sink or the dishwasher, tidying up a mess not of your creation. And when you've seen yourself, that version of you way in the past, just a representation, someone that looks like you, tidy up that mess. Let me know by nodding your head. Okay. I want you to imagine a few hours go by and there is a knock at the door. You're observing this like a fly on the wall, like a bird's eye perspective. It is the police at that door. I want you to imagine that they are arresting you for tidying up someone else's mess. See them put handcuffs on this person that looks exactly like you, and then taking that version that looks like you to a police station, interrogating you. How can you be so vile to tidy up someone else's mess. They're angry. They're frustrated. They charge you with the crime of tidying up someone else's mess. Imagine time goes on, and then you see someone that looks exactly like you but from 26 years ago in court. The crime? Tidying up someone else's mess. Maybe you're seeing that version of you, that someone that looks like you, is confused, scared perhaps. How can it be the case that you're on trial for the crime of tidying up someone else's mess? You didn't ask to be drugged. You didn't invite that person to take what they wanted from your fridge. You didn't give them the permission to eat that food. And certainly you didn't allow them to leave without tidying up their own mess, and yet they did that. And then there you are on trial. And I want you to imagine there is a very persuasive prosecution that says that this person that looks like you, how dare they deserve a life of happiness for tidying up someone else's mess? How dare they think that they can do something so vile as to tidy up someone else's mess and expect not to be punished for a long time? I want you to imagine that the jury are taken in with this odd evaluation, this strange way of perceiving what has happened. The defense, for some reason, is just missing. They're not articulating the other side of the story. It's just the prosecution, highly critical, highly judgmental, very influential to all of these members of the jury. And then imagine they find that person that looks like you guilty of tidying up someone else's mess, of solving someone else's problem. And imagine that that person that looked like you is now in jail. See them in a jail cell. See how their body language has changed. The key thing in this jail cell is that anything that resembles happiness and joy, fulfillment and freedom is prohibited. And I want you to see what happened to that woman after spending a bit of time in jail. What happens to most people in jail is that their spirit gets crushed. They just do the pragmatic, day after day, getting on with things, accepting their fate. Even though this woman is in jail for a crime that she did not commit. Punishment too harsh, unfair. And if your unconscious mind is agreeing, first of all, that this woman that looks like you should not be punished at all, just let me know by nodding your head. Secondly, that even if this woman was to be punished, the punishment for tidying up someone else's mess, maybe a day, 2 days, not years. And if your unconscious mind, all parts of your unconscious mind agree that this woman that looks like you should not be there and needs to be released, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine that this woman has been in this jail for 26 years. I want you to imagine now that this woman looks very much like you do in the present. I want you to change perspective so you now feel what it feels like to be in jail for 26 years. Paying the price for a crime that you did not choose, desire to commit. experiencing a harsh sentence where you are paying the price of a crime that someone else committed. If you can feel what it feels like to be a prisoner unfairly, and that it is time to be released, just let me know by nodding your head. That's right. I want you to get a sense that you have a choice. You can choose to spend the rest of your life in jail, paying the penalty for someone else's crime, or you can decide that enough is enough, that you've paid the price, and now all of that unfair punishment, all of that emotional distress, missed opportunities, is just creating a karmic deficit where all of the pain and unhappiness that you've been enduring now means that the opposite is owed to you. What you've had in restrictions, you now deserve in freedom. What you've had in pain, you now deserve in pleasure and joy. What you've had in guilt, you now deserve in self-acceptance. If your unconscious mind that everything that has been taken from you, you now deserve the opposite, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to feel what it would feel like to be collecting your belongings and walking out of that prison. To feel that the past is the past. That you deserve not just happiness, but all the happiness that you've missed out on. That you will fight to bring everything positive that you believe in yourself, even if no one else will. You will have that desire to live life to the fullest, to pursue your dreams, to fight for every gram of happiness that you deserve and has been owed to you, but withheld to you, is now yours for the taking. And I want you to imagine what that future looks like. And it's not unusual when people get released from jail to have flashbacks that they're still in jail. They're in their own bed, but they imagine they're in a prison cell. And I want you to accept that if any of these ideas that you're back being punished occur to you, all you'll need to do is to remind yourself that that was the past. It was unfair. And there is a karmic debt owed to you of all the positive things that you missed out on. And if you accept that to be true, let me know by nodding your head. That's right. And then imagine what you will do today, what you'll do tomorrow with that freedom. Imagine being grateful for the freedom that you now have. Feeling how good it can feel to have let go of all that guilt and shame. Any ideas of punishment become laughable. Why could you be punished for simply tidying up someone else's mess? It never made sense. It makes even less sense now. And what is true is that kind and considerate people deserve happiness. You deserve happiness. And not only that, you deserve more happiness from all of the happiness you missed out on. Step into that future. Walk into that sunlight. And feel, for the first time in a long time, that you have let go of the weight that you've been carrying. You've let go of that baggage. You can feel lighter, freer, open to opportunities, knowing that you either win or you learn. You can either do things that give you nice things or learn what doesn't work for you, but you will no longer hide in the shadows. You will no longer hide away. You deserve respect. You deserve love. You deserve opportunities to live your life in the way that you want to. And when your unconscious mind has processed and updated your belief systems about who you are and what you deserve, and you're ready to open a new chapter in the book of your life, let me know by nodding your head. And it's time to return to the present. Feel like you're back in your body, listening to my voice. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling resourceful, feeling free, feeling optimistic and positive, and feeling for the first time in a long time that the world is your oyster. Opportunities are open to you with a higher level of self-belief and determination that you've experienced in a long time. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.